Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more of the Cretan Chronicles. We're in Book 1, the Bloodfeud of Altheus, and in the last episode we've seen off the attempted Amazonian invasion of Athens. Now, it's time to get on a ship, but not after a good night's rest. Before continuing, I will say, this is our second playthrough of the first book, because after completing the first book, we discovered that we had done so in such a way as to render completion of the second book highly improbable. And now we're experimenting with an alternate route through the first book, which gives us a mighty boon in the second book, although many of the small benefits we would have carried over from the first book will not come with us because we're taking an alternate path instead. That being said, most of the benefits we would have carried over would be clues or little bits of information that we are expected to now know on this second attempt. I don't like that because it feels like abusing player knowledge that Altheus the hero does not have. That being said, let us send Altheus to bed so he can rest and continue his journey. You are tired after the exertions of the day, and your youthful limbs can hardly bear you further. You stagger and fall to the ground. A man comes to you and puts a goblet to your lips, and you sip at the cool, dark wine. You are carried by servants of Aegeus to your room, and there you rest for some hours, sleeping intermittently, while the feast and the celebration go on below. At last you are recovered and feel able to act again, fully refreshed. We could stay the night and be ready to leave in the morning with the ship, which isn't really going to leave before morning, or decide that you can delay no longer and must go at once without saying farewell down to the Piraeus, port of Athens, where a ship awaits you carrying the human tribute for Minos. We are in the palace of Aegeus, our father. Let us rest the night here. There's a clue here. Can't think of anything particularly overly heroic at the moment. Let's get a good night's kip before heading out. Sleep and weariness once more take hold of your tired body. At last you open your eyes and find that your surroundings have changed. You're no longer in your bedchamber at Aegeus's palace. We are not in disfavour with Hecate because we did not disrupt her sacrifice. No obvious heroic clue here. Therefore we continue. You seem to be in a dark corridor. A torch in the bracket on one wall casts a baleful light, but only reveals the passage stretching endlessly onwards, punctuated by openings to the left and right. Further you wander, frantically seeking to escape from whatever place the forces of darkness have cast you into. From time to time you hear a sound like footsteps and hurry faster as the man who thinks his enemies follow, but can never turn round lest he confront them. Something shiny glints in a corner. You stoop to pick it up and hear a great roaring from behind. You scramble around to see there a great bull-headed creature, its horns poised to tear out your throat and your great-hearted spirit. This aligns with the vision we had in the town itself with the dancing performers, who depicted a similar scene in which Theseus in the labyrinth stooped to pick something up and the Minotaur ambushed him when he did so. That's a repeated warning, probably in case we missed the other one. However, it would seem the gods have seen fit to give us a prophetic dream. Sweating and trembling at the terrible experience you have just undergone, you open your eyes, only to find that you are still in your bedchamber. Could this be a message from the gods, a dream sent from high Olympus, or perhaps from the great depths of Hades? You rise and don your armour, for it is now dawn. and crimson trails light up the early morning sky. It is time for you to set off for the Piraeus. You stay only a short time to say farewell to Aegeus, and, documents in hand, you set forth on the final stage of your journey to Crete. At the gate the guards salute you, but after a while you become lost and have to ask a peasant the way to the harbour. There's another clue here. It's not going to be something like a true hero would know the way to the harbour, so it'll be something else. There are a lot of false clues in this portion of the adventure which punish you for taking them, presumably because you will have taken clues earlier and got used to them being helpful, even though there were some false clues earlier on. For now, though, we shall go down to the harbour, following the peasant's directions. At long last you reach the Piraeus, the well-built harbour of Athens. A host of people are assembled there, busily loading and unloading goods from the islands. Your ship is Altheus, a great but weather-beaten pine vessel with sails of deep black, draped in cloths of black, its crew dressed in sombre robes. A small man, in a white-trimmed cloak, beckons to you. He is the captain, and they have delayed sailing for you. They must leave within minutes, or the tide will prevent them for another 12 hours. You rush aboard and are shown below decks to a large room where the crews sleep and keep their possessions. Here you stow your weapons and go to join the captain. At section 327, apparently. And yes, I said that so I'd remember it as I was turning the pages. And of course I remember this onerous creature. The ship has already cast off, and the rowers are at their benches, heaving hard at the smooth wooden oars. The overseer has no whip, for all are volunteers, but a regular beat is struck on stretched hide drums. The Athenians, destined for sacrifice, speak little, keeping to themselves, but every so often cast you hopeful glances, as men appealing to high Olympus for succour. "Altheus, breaker of horses, will save us," they say, or "Altheus will storm the great-walled citadel of Knossos and bring us back to Athens." One girl looks remarkably like your mother, Aethra, and puts you in mind for a moment of the home you left so many days ago. The voyage continues, and the sun and moon fake their turns. Look, that's scanned in as an F for some reason, because of the dark dots, but it could be a T, so we'll take it as such. The voyage continues, and the sun and moon take their turns at lighting up the weary world. Sometimes the ship goes under sail, at other times oars are needed. You are seasick often as the swell rocks the boat, and so, unable to help in the necessary tasks of the journey. Oh no, that's the end of a sentence. You are seasick often as the swell rocks the boat, and so unable to help in the necessary tasks of the journey. Your stomach feels as if trampled by the Marathonian bull. Your head reels as if being caught a glancing blow by a straight-flying spear. You are dimly aware that the ship, having hugged the coast of Attica, now approaches rugged Chios. There are shouts and noises above. "Altheus!" you hear the captain cry. "Come quickly!" You stagger to your feet and lurch unsteadily to the deck, wondering at the ways of seafaring folk. When you look out to where everyone is pointing, you see, and horror grips your mind, a great sea monster shaped like a serpent with slimy spines sticking from its head, huge beyond imagining, eyes sparkling with the glint of the deeps, jaws wide and ravening, its body shining blue, green, and yellow under the summer sun. Poseidon is not our patron. We have not gained his disfavour or favour, therefore he is neutral towards us. So be it. The sea serpent has might of 20 and protection of 12. We will write this down. Well, we can do nothing and hope the creature has not noticed the ship. I think we did that last time, and we had to fight it anyway, so we'll attack it now. You realise that you are unarmed. Your weapons are still down below. There is little time to decide. You could grab a harpoon and attack with this, or you could dash down and collect your arms from the hold of the ship. But then the sea serpent might sink the ship while we are doing so, so let's just grab a harpoon up here now. Which is fortunately exactly the same stats as our sword. So I don't need to change anything. So, spear in hand we stand. It would be really nice to imagine this in the middle of some kind of thunderstorm, with the lightning illuminating us as we stand on the ship's bow, roaring at the creature, but I don't seem to recall any storm being mentioned. You could plunge into the water to fight with the beast in the chill depths of the ocean, where it knows how to swim far better than we do, or you could stand your ground and await its onslaught on the strong-built pines of Aegeus' ship. On the ship we shall meet it. The beast comes back towards the black ship, and the clash as you meet is mighty. The sun's rays on your armour are as sparks from a fire, and the din of your encounter makes it seem as if the very sky is not secure in its place. Now, we only need to seriously wound the serpent. With a might of 7, we are going to hit a protection of 12 on 5s. A 2 or 3 would miss anyway. Spending 1 honour would push that down to a 4. With a might of 20, that thing's going to hit us every time anyway. We only need to seriously wound, so we only need the 2 hits, and Altheus strikes first. Unless we miss an attack, we're good. If we miss an attack, we'll have to spend honour. So, the sea serpent is currently healthy, as are we. We'll have 2 dice. Plus 7. Altheus strikes with the harpoon. 17. Absolutely, the sea serpent is now wounded. We're halfway there. The sea serpent will roll 2 dice plus 20, and unless it rolls a 2 or 3, it rolled a 4. We are now wounded, quite predictably. And now we strike again with that harpoon at the foul creature. 7 and 7 is 14. The sea serpent is seriously wounded, and probably has little taste for the fight at this point. He says, because he's played this before. Your last blow strikes home, and the creature shrieks out in agony, lashes about with its tail, lashes out with its tail. Okay, I'll do that again. Your last blow strikes home, and the creature shrieks out in agony, lashes out with its tail, and tries to swim off, its skin of iridescent green now clouded with its dark red blood. The captain, praising Zeus for deliverance, orders those of the rowers who have survived to get under way. The black-sailed vessel limps on towards Crete. Limps onwards to Crete. Have 7 honour points. We shall. And we will recover our health. 7 honour points takes us up to a whopping 42, but we're going to be expected to spend some of those before the end of the book. Because there will be another hard fighter coming, or 2. I'm not sure there's 3 more, but there's at least 2. One of which we can completely avoid. For the next day and night the ship is driven by a great heaven-sent storm through the deep running waters of ocean, and its timbers are broken. 3 oarsmen are cast into the black whirlpools, never to return to the world of mortal men. Of this you see little, Altheus, for you are too ill. Perhaps your passage would have been eased if Hermes the messenger had granted you the use of his feathered wings to fly to fair Crete. At last the ship, battered by storm and serpent, arrives at Kyphnos for repairs and to take on fresh water to slake the thirst of the tired seamen. You emerge onto the deck, but are carried down the gangway to the harbour, while the crowds look on at this strange ship from Athens. You slump down beside a pile of well-woven baskets, and an old woman revives you with a bunch of grapes. Let us accompany the captain around Kyphnos. He knows his way around, after all. Quickly you move away from the strong-benched vessels in the harbour, where swift preparations are made for the repair of the ship. The Athenians bound for Crete stand in a forlorn group, chattering among themselves, but you leave them behind. At last you catch up with the captain, who is talking to a man outside the inn. He hands over some scrolls of parchment and then speaks to you with winged words. "Come in and join me for a drink. There's a clue here, and we should definitely take it." To your horror, you notice that the documents destined for Minos at Crete are among the papers. Hurriedly you stop the innkeeper and explain the mistake. He smiles and hands them back. You decide that it would be better to return to the ship before the malicious barbs of the spirits of Kyphnos can wound you further. You almost shake with joy as you return to the harbour that you have recovered the precious letters to Minos. If you had not had them, the wrath of the gods and men at your mission's ending would have been as the stormy anger of the Olympians against the earth-built Titans penned in their fiery tombs as punishment for the destruction wrought upon the fair green world. And that is a really long sentence for someone with asthma. The ship is now repaired for the long journey ahead. Everything except the figurehead is replaced, but this cannot be save on one festival day of the year when the priests of the city's patron may bless it and instill it with her power. You must traverse the seas without its protection, but if fearsome Poseidon is merciful, then the slender flame of your life's course may burn on to the Cretan shores. The captain is unsure now which route he should take for Crete. He must go ashore at fire-pent Fera, home of lame Hephaestus, god of fire and craft, but either Melos or Apollo's Isle of Delos seems equally balanced for the intervening stop. The gnarled and sea-wise man turns to you for advice. Now, we can sail on to Delos, where we have an opportunity to fight with an evil man who is powerful and occupying the temple of Apollo. We suffer from seasickness, making the fight a bit harder, which means, given the odds, we're likely to spend about 4 points of honour, and we'd only get 5 points of honour for defeating the evil man, and we don't get to keep any of his belongings. There is a small clue from Apollo, which isn't a very big clue really, it's just stating the obvious. So we should perhaps just go to Melos instead, because if we're only going to get from 1 to 5 honour on Delos, quite probably just 1, let's see if Melos has more to offer. Defeating the evil man does not give us Apollo's favour, which would be quite useful in Book 2, but we've missed that because we got the favour of Demeter instead, which will be crucial at one very important moment, whereas the favour of Apollo is very beneficial in many smaller instances. To Melos, the fair honey isle, you travel, and the sea is placid, calm as the treetops on a summer's day when the wind does not blow. No sea monster from Poseidon's realms trouble you, and in 2 days the ship, no sea monsters, that makes more sense, I missed the S. No sea monsters from Poseidon's realm trouble you, and in 2 days the ship has reached the isle. The sailors disembark, and even those destined for death in the labyrinth seem strangely cheered. Herds of brown speckled cattle graze in the grassy fields, and the birds wheel overhead. Vines grow wild in the countryside, and the sun is warming but not hot. This reminds me of that island in the Odyssey where you do not touch the cows. You can eat all the fruit and plants and stuff, but you don't touch the cows because they are sacred to Poseidon. He will curse your journey if your sailors do so. So we shall eat some of the grapes. You pick some of the purple grapes and eat them, their juice trickling down your reddened cheeks and staining your tunic. It is good that Aethra, your mother, is not here. After a while you feel a cramp in your stomach. Perhaps you ought not to have tasted the vine's refreshing fruit. We are eating on an empty belly. We've had a little bit, and we haven't really had enough to fill it, and now it's really letting us know. We could search for some honey to assuage our hunger and possibly get stung by a load of bees, return to the ship, or try to catch one of the cattle helped by the other sailors. No, let's not get a gang together to go hunting. Let's just go back to the ship and suffer for now. Have 2 honor points. It's more than the 1 we would have probably gained elsewhere, so that puts us on 44. Presumably 2 honor points for not hunting the cattle. Away from the island of Melos you sail, the oarsmen straining in their places, for there is no wind. The journey to Favour will be hard, and you lie for a day and a night in your hammock, racked by some strange fever. In your dreams, and perhaps from Olympus, all the folk you have met glide strangely past. Aegeus, Medea, the captain, your patron, all merging into the hideous, laughing face of the Minotaur. You dash aloft, your fever broken, only to see the Isle of Favour lying in the distance, its cliffs reflecting the sunlight like a jewel, and casting an unearthly glow. Well, let us go and visit it then. You disembark on Favour, which, despite its appearance from afar, seems a gloomy place. You have not been travelling for long when you see a strange sight. A woman on a golden throne is sitting beneath the cliff. Beside her is a proud warrior bearing a mighty shafted spear, and standing alongside him is a lame man dressed in the apron of a blacksmith bearing a hammer of black metal. As fast as the thunderflash that comes from Zeus, the cliff begins to crumble. "Save us!" the figures cry in unison. You are the closest and have time to save only one. This is Favour, the island of Hephaestus, who is a cripple with a lame leg and possibly a hunched back, and an old man. Neither of the others look like him. And if we had defeated the evil man in the Temple of Apollo on the other island, Apollo would have told us to save the smith on this island, in case we hadn't worked that out for ourselves. Hera is not our patron. The woman in the golden throne probably looks like her. Ares probably bears a strong resemblance to the soldier. However, since we're not intimately acquainted with either of those two, we go to section 543 instead. Do you try to save the gold throne woman, the lame blacksmith, or the mighty warrior? The blacksmith it is. They even tell us he's a smith. Just in case. At very peril of your life, you push through the hail of stones to reach the blacksmith. You close your eyes to protect them against the rain of death-dealing dust. When you open them again, the rockfall has ceased and the cliff stands black and brooding as ever. The lame man stands smiling, and you can see him more clearly now. He wears a pointed cap, as he should, and bears a hammer with which he strokes his great brown beard. His ashen grey tunic does not cover his right shoulder. "I greet you," he booms, his voice like the rumbling of a volcano. "You have chosen well, and I will reward you." He turns, and for a moment you see in the rock a great workshop, shining like the stars, with an anvil and a multitude of bellows blowing like the great storms that break the hollow ships and send the crews to their doom. Then, just as swiftly, the scene vanishes. In his arm he bears a breastplate, shield, and sword. He hands them to you, and they shine in the sunlight, like the sun come to earth, plain, worked, but stronger than death. You take these divine gifts and marvel, but as you do, the god is gone back to his celestial workshop. These weapons are divine work, and are therefore mighty indeed. Normally, the breastplate is protection 4, the shield protection 4, and the sword might 4, but when fighting divine, or divinely built creatures, all values are at 6, not 4. Such creatures are marked in the text with an asterisk before their might value. Occasionally, they are marked with an asterisk after their might value. You are in favour with Hephaestus, and we will add that completely. Now, I'm going to copy the sword, breastplate, and shield from the backup sheet from our previous playthrough. So the issue we had here, in case you're unfamiliar, so 4 plus 4 is 8 might, which is quite respectable. Now, 1 for Athena's protection. 4, 4. Two for a helmet. And greaves of 1. I think that probably brings us to, what, 22? 10, 18, 19, 20, 22. Yes, that is a very high protective value. Now, in Book 2, in the fight with the Minotaur, we were forced to leave all but one's weapon and 1 piece of armour behind, meaning that we only had a protection of 15, 17 against the Minotaur, which had a might of something quite high. And the Minotaur has a ridiculously high protection value, meaning we would need to spend honour just to be able to strike it. It also has an additional point of health and can take an extra wound, just as we did when we had the special boon from Asclepius, the healer. Without all 3 of these items, we did not stand a chance. The only way to take all 3 of these into the arena, well, into the labyrinth, and enjoy some of the courtly intrigue, is to gain the favour of Demeter in Book 1. Gaining the favour of Demeter in Book 1 means not gaining the favour of Apollo in Book 1, and not gaining the favour of Dionysus in Book 1. The favour of Dionysus comes in useful some 3 or 4 times to warn us of poison or treachery at feasts and dancing. Apollo's favour can come in as a backup on 1 or 2 of those occasions, so we essentially have to go into Book 2 without any of those warnings, survive at least 1 assassination attempt, which might even be down to a random dice roll, and then utilize the favour of Demeter to go in fully equipped. Also, we don't need anywhere near half this stuff at this point, and we'll be wanting to trade some of it. Anyway, having now gained the favour of Hephaestus, let us move on. The mighty-masted ship is now prepared for the long sail from Fera to Crete. The captain pours a libation of red wine into the waters, praying to great Poseidon for safe passage. The wind, which starts strong, so that the ship can sail under its doom-black sails bearing its blood cargo to Crete, soon builds up to a storm. Poseidon is not our patron. He is not in disfavour with us, so he's neutral towards us. Roll a die. You may expend this number of honour points in a prayer to Poseidon. Otherwise, you face the churning sea without a prayer to the ocean god. Let's do it. 1 die, 2 points. Very reasonable. 2 honour points, and we shall pray to Poseidon. Good roll there. Usually when I roll low it means something bad's going to happen, but in this case, not the case. The wind blows into a gale and the ship is tossed from side to side. The masts are stripped of their black cloth sails, which are thrown into the sea, and then they too are splintered like the stockade before the coming of the angry boar, its mouth foaming, its eyes wild as the stormy seas. The ship is beaten down by the fury of the waves, and all aboard fear for their lives. You may either sacrifice 2 more honour points to Poseidon, or you may trust in your own ability to ride out the waves. We can afford to sacrifice 2 more points of honour. Storm battered and sea stained, bruised by the relentless swell, you lose hold of your possessions. You lose 1 piece of armour, your choice, 1 weapon, and 1 other item for your chronicle sheet, which must not be armour or weapons. Well, fortunately, we have a plethora. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weapons. We'll just lose the club. It's the worst of the lot. As for armour, we have shield, breastplate. We have a spare breastplate we don't need. We clearly weren't wearing it at the time. It's been washed away. We don't need our mother's gem ever again, and we didn't actually have to hand it over. We only had to show it, to display it. The small silver earring we don't need either, because we've proved ourselves to the Amazons. So that can actually go. It's not going to be required in Book 2. There we are. You may not lose the documents for Minos, or anything of Antiope's, which of course would be the jewelled brooch, as proof for Lembra. Note that if you possess only 1 item in any of these categories, you need not lose it. For example, if you have only 1 piece of armour, you may keep it. We're good. We're fine. For 7 days and 7 nights the storm rages, and you are blown hopelessly off course. Without rest, the captain strives to keep his ship afloat. The wood of the prow splinters and is gone. The chest containing Aegeus's gift to Minos, statuettes of the gods carved in gold and silver, is swept overboard. Only the will of Zeus keeps the vessel above the whirling waters, while the minions of Poseidon do their best to batter it. The waves being the minions of Poseidon, obviously. You remain below decks, no good sailor, your very life seeming to seep away as the ship rises and falls. At long last, when you had almost forgotten that great ocean Poseidon's realm has bounds, the cry goes up that land is in sight, and it is Cythera, Aphrodite's island. Excellent. Now, O Cythera, You are fairer by far than the finest flower of Aegeus's garden and the realm of Atticus, bedecked in summer's finery, while the breath of the fair goddess soothes it all it touches. All is peace. Yet even in gardens there is a place where a tall cypress casts its shadows and nothing may grow. You hear shouts and screams. You notice a small boat driven against the life-rending rocks at the beach's edge. A woman shouts out in distress and mortal danger. Well, obviously, we should go and save the woman, but not in full armour. And there's a clue here which will indicate just that. However, because there's a very high-risk encounter coming up before the end of the book, I probably don't want to push my luck too much. So I'm actually going to end the episode here. I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'll say goodbye for now, though, and cheerio, everyone. See you all soon.